I started to play when I was 10 years old. My father, he plays accordion as a hobby, and I was one of those well-behaved kids who kind of said yes to father and pleased him and continued playing through that, because I was mostly interested about sports and other things, or hanging around with friends instead of playing accordion. But you know, somehow I kept going with accordion, and you know, at 17 it was very uncool instrument in Finland. I didn't even dare to tell my friends that I played accordion. It was only adults. If you ask about like how advanced, or is it most advanced instrument, so I would say it's very narrow-minded instrument, and I guess that was one of the reasons where I kind of also struggled many years how to find myself from that instrument. And if I say narrow-minded, I mean that there's no other instrument which is so great instrument, like it's an orchestra in one instrument. There's a bass side and melody, and you can even get drums if you hit the bellow. But it's used mainly at folk music or classical, and then there's a huge gap between those two things. And for me the biggest thing was late 90s when I started to work with electronics, some effects and looping machines and that kind of stuff, and now I'm like so much into into electronics with my accordion, and through that system what I've been working last 15 years, I think it's very advanced instrument, and really kind of it really attracts me a lot. It's very popular. I would say that it's kind of our unofficial national instrument, you know, kanteleistö, as you have this kuokle. Yeah, so but it's old generation loves old stuff, but nowadays luckily there's youngsters also who are playing and doing and composing new material, so we have really nice accordion scene in Finland. I don't really want to put my music into box. I just leave it for the journalist or the audience. For me it is just music which I create, and I don't have really big images that I want to make this kind of music or that kind of music. For me, like, I compose music all the time for different projects what I have, and I improvise a lot, and also I search new sounds. And when you work with the sound and improvisation, something happens, and when I hear something interesting I record it and I start to develop that composition. And then I go to stage, I have a rough idea about the composition, at least at my solo work it's more rough, because I want to give some space and freedom for my also like improvise on stage. If we talk Uniko, then it's more composed piece. So but to label it, to name it, I'm not interested in about that thing. Solo is always the hardest thing to do. I'm on stage 60 minutes, 75 minutes, 90 minutes alone, and I'm responsible everything what's happening there. So it's always the most challenging work. But somehow I like it a lot, because then it's a very special thing. When you play with other people, it's great to share music and communication, but then there's less responsibility, and so in a way this is the hardest thing to do as a solo.
You've recorded also modern ballads.
Yeah, that's the latest CD actually, with my great teacher Heiki Laitinenu.
He was your teacher?
He was my teacher at the Sibelius Academy folk music department, and actually one of the greatest teachers for me, who encouraged me to do own composition, and who always told me that, you know, tradition is not past, it's something in the future, something what you can imagine, and that's why I keep him as one of the greatest teacher I have had. And we did this in Finland. We have, of course, I guess you also in Latvia must have lots of stories about murders and ballads or broadside ballads.
Only one.
Okay. We have lots of like we have different like lamentation and ballads where the murder is a kind of big part of the story, and it can be sometimes even a funnily told. And, you know, we want to make this kind of recording where the subject is just murders. This is a bit more serious than Tigerlily's thing, but anyway, the Finnish humor is always so-called black humor. It's not like Tigerlily's humor, where you really put people to laugh. In Finnish humor, you make a joke that you don't notice. You have to decide yourself if you take it as a joke. So that we call so-called black humor. Mm-hmm. For me, I just want to create music as unconsciously as possible. It's interesting to see what comes out from your mind or head, how far you can go in your, you know, past or future, and what kind of music. You never know what is coming out, and that's a very fascinating thing. Always when I go to my working space, sometimes there's like I just start to play and then something happens. So I don't really have big images like okay, now I make this kind of stuff or this kind of mood or music. I just see what will happen.
And the titles for pieces?
It's very hard. The titles for the pieces, it's so hard, because in a way, if you put the title, you kind of nail some kind of image there. And I always try to get the title which really don't mean too much, which can give you wide perspective for the name. Uniko is good example as a name. It doesn't really mean anything. There's many ideas for me why I took Uniko, but anyway, I don't want that means say something to you immediately. Uniko means this, because then you will put the music in the box. And I want to give the freedom for you when you come to the audience. Just sit and be relaxed and think what you have at your mind. More you get during the concert inside the music, you don't think at all, then you get in the best possible situation at the concert. Sometimes, as I always said, that sometimes when the flow is really good and you don't have to think, you just play, so you get some kind of high feeling on stage that you feel that, you know, whatever you do, it works. Even if you walk through this wall, you can do it. So that's the greatest moment at the concert, when you really get that feeling that, you know, everything is so easy. But then if you start to think or there's some problems, so then it's not so easy. And so in a way, that's the target, where you try to get that kind of feeling that you don't really think at all. So that's the most creative process. But it's not easy always when there's many people watching you, or you're on stage and people are watching and expecting, waiting something. So you kind of, somehow you have to forget them. You can't forget them, because of course you know that there is an audience, but get to that kind of situation that you don't think them too much, you don't want to please them too much. But it's not an easy thing. think the whole work what I'm doing is inventing things. In a way I call it that I amuse myself. So I go to my working space every day when I'm not doing tours or concerts, and what I start to search or explore the accordion and sounds. So in a way it's inventing new sounds which fascinates you, and then it makes you create something. So in a way I think this all work is that how can you find after all these years new things from yourself. It's not so easy anymore after like nearly 40 years playing, so to find new things, but that's the only thing what keeps my working, like keeps it going, that try to invent or find new things what I think that I have never heard before. I don't know if audience think like that. The main thing that I have the feeling that this is something meaningful for me, something new for me, and it's like good example that I've been many years thinking of doing some kind of vocal projects, some more vocal things, and when I realized that I just sample my own sounds, vocal sounds, and play those through accordion. So suddenly it's like total new world, which been really fascinating me a lot. And next week I do a concert in Finland with only vocal things, only vocalizing and vocal sound through accordion, and that's a new project which keeps me like busy at the moment, and it's really fascinating to work and something new. I was very doubtful that like why to make documentary, because I didn't feel anything about like talking head at documentary, and I told the guys that I don't want to do document originally, and they start to kind of push me over to that thing, and we were supposed to do feature film, but we never get funding for that, so we got some funding and we had to make something, so it ended for document. But anyway, I tried to influence for the document that beside music there is also some kind of message, because I feel that if there's a document there must be something, some message for somebody, some reason to do it, and I hope we got it through, that idea that for me it was some kind of how I've been going with my life. It's not been easy always. It's been kind of finding the right way, the path where you want to go, finding your own voice, and I wanted that after that film, when people see it or musicians see it, that they would get an idea that, you know, life is short. You should really find your own path, listen yourself, not your parents, society, teachers, to do the thing what you want to do. And I think the only way to do that thing is to find your own sound, own path, own way of making music, and please yourself as a first person, not the audience or anybody else. And that's kind of gave me the reason to make this document also. Yes, I found it at the very late, actually, at the age of 32. So after many years playing, I really found it. And I remember always that day. I'm talking about the document about that day, that, you know, it was so big moment for me that I was so excited that I couldn't even play anymore. I went out for a walk because I was so excited, like when I realized, okay, this is the thing what I want to do. After many years playing folk stuff, classical stuff, like whatever, so after 22 years playing, I found my thing, and that path I'm doing at the moment.